Hi viewers, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is HP Fashions GY. In today's tutorial, I'll be learning on how to cut and sew a downside wedge for an overburst and also a boning technique. Okay, so if this is your first time of turning to my YouTube channel, don't forget to like and subscribe. All right, so at this point now, we'll just go ahead and mark about 1.5 inches on our plain fabric. 1.5 inches. I'll be using the length of 60 for this. Then I'll mark another 1.5 inches because I'll be making do of 3 or more lines. Okay, but for now I'm just marking out 2 lines for now. All right, so I'm actually marking the 2 lines together, the first and the second one. Okay, so I will just ensure that I get exactly 1.5 inches wide for each lines. All right, so once I'm certain, I'll go ahead and cut it all out. Okay, so I'm actually cutting the first one out. After cutting the first one, I'll go ahead and get for the second. Okay, so this is exactly what it looks like. This is exactly the wideness. All right, so I'll go ahead and get the second. For this is the first one. All right, so at this point now, I will introduce my bone to this. All right, so the shiny part of the fabric is actually the right side of the fabric. So how I will just use my bone to, I'll use the fabric to wrap my bone, a little of it, not like completely. I use it to wrap one side of the bone. Okay, so then I will just sew right at the tip of it. Okay, so ensure to do yours well because it's, it's actually a bone and it's kind of strong for the sewing machine. So I'm actually sewing this gently because I wouldn't want my thread to cut anyhow. All right, so I'll just go ahead and wrap it this way and sew right at the tip of my fabric. All right, while I'm sewing it, I'm actually sewing directly on the bone as well because the bone is actually inside, and I'm actually using a sewable bone for this, not non-sewable. So I'll just sew at the edge. All right, so I'll ensure to sew this right at the edge of this. All right, so this is how it looks like after sewing. All right, this is exactly how it looks like. Okay, so since I'm done with this one, I'll go ahead at this point now to trim out the excess allowance. Okay, I left a little allowance for this because I wouldn't want it to be short of fabric. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and trim a little of the fabric out, the excess out. Okay, so I'll just do that right away. And while I'm trimming, I'm also watching out for the remaining fabric. Let me not mistakenly put the scissors through it. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and trim up a little of the allowance. All right, because I really want this boning technique to, I really want the boning channel to be very perfect. All right, that's why I'll just go ahead and trim out any excess left. All right, so at this point now, this is done. It's done, and I've actually joined my overburst. So the next thing to do now is to start introducing the bone into it. All right, so this is actually the middle. I use my chalk to indicate the middle line for this. So I'll just place my bone not on the middle but by the side of the middle. All right, so I will sew this way by the side of the middle. All right, so I'm sewing at the excess fabric side, not on the other side. I'm sewing on the side that have excess fabric. All right, so at this point now, I'm not sewing directly on the bone, it's just on the fabric. So this is actually the wrong side. So after sewing this, I'll be left with a rough surface for this. Actually, I will not leave it like that. So after that, we'll just turn it this way, place the bone this way, and stop stitch on top of the stitches we've made earlier. All right, so we'll just turn it this way and top stitch right on top of it. Okay, so this is exactly how the boning techniques looks like. All right, so we'll repeat this procedure for almost all of the dress. All right, like this middle now doesn't have a demarcation. For the side that have a demarcation, we'll use the boning to follow all the lines up. All right, like this one, we'll sew this one with just to lap it this way and so. All right, so we're done with the boning technique, and it's time to add our side wedge. Okay, so we'll just place folded a fabric into two, and we'll place the main dress on the fabric folded into two. Then I will just trace this side. All right, to get this side, I minus about 2 inches from the side of my overbust. All right, so you just to take this side and give it exactly the shape you want and how long you would like your wedge to look like. All right, so and the length upward, I went up with 3.5 inches from the other overbust. So for this one now, we've gotten 8 pieces of this, 2 for each. Then we also got our inner hairstay that will make it thick. All right, so I'll place my hairstay behind the plain material I've got, and I will sew this way from the tip. We'll sew right on at the tip, then stop right this at this point. All right, so once this is done, you can go ahead and give it a nice press. All right, this is how I joined it. All right, so at this point now, we'll place it at the down part, joining allowance to joining allowance. They should actually face each other to give it that good look, to give it that perfect look. Okay, so after joining, before joining, I will ensure that they really face each other, so that after joining, no side will shift and no side will look awkward. Okay, so at this point now, go ahead and join this using about 1/2 inch to do this joining or less than, but the main aim is that I want to have everything together. All right, so at this point now, I'm repeating the same procedure for the other side of the overbust, because the opening is actually on both sides of the overbust. Okay, so I went up about 3.5 inches, then wideness of 2 inches, then I cut it out to minus for this overbust. Then we had to place and get the shape of this. So I'll run the thread like this. This is exactly what we have for the overbust for the two sides. Okay, so of course we're not leaving it this way. We'll go ahead and also introduce our bone to this. So I've already introduced the bone. It's just to turn it this way and top stitch right on it. Okay, so we are sewing right on top of the overbust down to the wedge. All right, so after sewing, is looking straight like this, so just put your hand on this point and bend it back. All right, so you can bend it, you can use an iron to secure it. All right, so after that, after bending, this is exactly how it looks like. Look at the two sides. This is exactly how it looks like standing. And also I'll use my lining now to turn all the sides up to do the final sewing and all. So if you find this video very helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe. Okay, all right, so this is the final look of this. All right, so after this, we'll go ahead and insert our eyelet hole, because for now there is no eyelet hole to this. That's why we had to hold it from the back. Okay, this is the final look of it. So by the time we introduce our eyelet hole to this, we'll properly snatch it very well. All right, so this is the final look of it. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up. Don't forget to turn up your notification. See you next time in my next video. Bye.